We are on now day 39 of 66 in a row, or yeah, 66 in a row, well beyond the halfway point in our journey right here. And things are going great. I hope you are taking me up on my own challenge, or taking you up on a challenge of your own to do your own hand reading. Super important. My game has really been improving for it. So what we're doing right now for this stretch of hands, we are looking at some of our different winning opponents and just basically going through some of their showdown hands, seeing how they approach games, or how they approach hands, how they're betting flops, betting turns, calling rivers, bluffing, value betting, 3-betting, all that jazz. So we have, this is me, WackyJuan. We've looked at plenty of Big the Big, New Wave, Goats McTokes. Let's look at one hand from Home Tiger 24. I don't think I've ever looked him up before. There he is. Good. So we are on Home Tiger. It's carbon hands, but let's do this. Whoops. Let's definitely look at carbon hands with showdown. There we go. All right, so we have 138 hands to choose from. We'll sort it by turn action. So what is this? Small blind here. Raise, bet, and then a check. Okay. That could be an interesting check, call. So we could see some passivity. What is he check calling? 2 streets and then check in the river. Although I do want to see a hand with some river action. Raise, bet, check, bet. Okay, that's not a bad one. We'll remember that. Big blind here. Call, bet. Okay, passive, then aggressive. We saw that yesterday. Playing passively, then playing aggressively. Just checking out of the big blind here and then calling all streets. Let's look for something a little different. Let's look for some raise, bet, call. Raise, bet, check, call. So getting aggressive and then turning passive here. Raise, bet, check on the river. We might do this one right here. Let's take a look in the button, see if there's any. Raise, bet, and then check. Raise, bet, check. I'm sorry, call, check, bet. Raise. Okay, this hand seems the best right here. Seems like it might be the most interesting. So, we've got to, of course, whip out split suits template here. 878-97255. Don't remember the date exactly, but let's go ahead and tag the hand so I don't review it again in the future. Home Tiger, what's the number? 24. In the cutoff. ISO's in the cutoff. Okay. So we've got Hometown Hero and Home Tiger. Well, Home v Home here maybe. And ISO raise, I just fold. What do I fold? 3-6. I don't blame myself for folding that. bigAAtom calls. Oh, Home Tiger calls. Okay, great. Well, let's take a look real quick. Okay, so Hometown Hero is going to be our ultimate villain. So we've got a limp calling villain, and we've got a loose aggressive 3327 Home Tiger Hero right here, throwing out the ISO raise. So what is he ISOing with? Of course, we do this. Oh, let's take a look at his Let's take a look at some of his positional ISOing stats. We only have 100 hands on the guy, but we might still be able to get, whoops, wrong one. Might still be able to get some ISO, some read. So he's calling 2 bets in the MP, or in the cutoff 0% right now. 3-betting 0%. So this guy's definitely more aggressive than tight. ISOing makes total sense here, what he's doing. His ISO percentage is only 9%, 1 out of 11. We can't really read too much into that, but he could be isolating this guy with a pretty darn wide range here. As we know, you isolate because you just want to get heads up with a certain player, and oftentimes it's in position, so he gets to go to the flop versus hometown in position by ISOing. Let's give him a 20%. Let's give him every single suited ace. Yeah, ace-9 offsuit is good. Let's not go down as far as 5-4 suited. Let's give him every king. He is a loose aggressive player. Let's give him one more 9-8 offsuit. Forget all this other offsuit stuff. You know, offsuit aces are a possibility. I just don't know that much about him. How much does he raise in the cutoff? Oh, 47% in the first place in the cutoff. So we definitely want to give him a wide range, especially when it comes to isolating, you know, the weaker players. So let's give him some of those hands. Let's go 8-7. Let's go with offsuit 9s. Okay. This looks like a pretty darn wide range. It could be even wider, but I don't want to go too wide. I just don't really know the guy all that well. Or the gal. Don't know anything about Home Tiger 24 other than the name. So Home Tiger, I'm going to put Home Tiger on this range of 40% range, 534 combos. And then let's see, he BB calls and then limper calls. So we have ultimate position with a rather wide range, but a loose aggressive guy right here didn't choose to 3-bet. So we can definitely take out, what can we take out from his big blind range? 10s or better, ace, king. Yeah, so he doesn't have, the toppest parts of his range are missing right now, as our hometown hero is most likely. But we want to give hometown hero a limp calling hand. Let's give him pocket 3s. I have no idea, because you can see, I mean, depending on how loose passive he is, opponents can often call, especially when they're getting such good odds. This guy opened, or this guy raised, he called already. He only needs 22% equity. I would fold with pocket 3s, but I just don't know. He could be doing it here with pocket 3s. We'll see. 10-7-7, heart, spade, club. So on the 10-7-7 board, our current range, because we have all the nutted pairs in our range, plus all the good overcards, our opponent probably doesn't, and our other opponent doesn't either. We actually have 57% on this board, so things are looking pretty good. This is what Alex Fitzgerald calls a chicken board, the paired boards, and in general, they are very hard to hit. There's not too many 7s in this guy's limp calling range. I guess 8-7, 7-6, ace-7, king-7 suited possibly. So there are some 7s, but 2 7s on the board. There's only 2 left that he could possibly have. And then the 10, well, yeah, ace 10, king 10, queen 10. I mean, there's a lot of different 10s in the range as well. But in general, chicken boards are hard to hit. So we have 57% with our equity versus an underpair. Let's see what the action is. Just $1. So look at that. It's a tiny little bet. This guy c-bets 50% of the time. Let's see what that is. 6 out of 12, so it's a pretty decent sample. He's probably c-betting all of his overcards, as well as maybe some backdoor draws, and then all of his 10s, of course. All of his overpairs are c-betting here. That feels on the smaller side, so I'm going to take out some of his nutted, definitely some of the nutted hands. Well, no, hold on a second. Pocket 10s here he has in his range. He could have flopped on a scary board, like, not scary, hard to hit board. He could have flopped a full house or even quads and just betting to slowly build the pot versus 2 players who are likely to check fold on this. So actually, for one street, I will keep his strongest hands in. If he's just trying to build a pot thinking they're folding most hands that missed. So we'll keep the quads in the range. This one street, if he makes another small bet on the turn, I'm going to take the quads out. I'll take the full houses out if it's another small bet on the turn as well. 3 of a kind could be making this bet right here, not wanting to blow the opponents out, wanting them to catch some kind of a pair on the turn. So I can see those doing it. Top pairs, totally. It's just a C bet right here with the top pair hand. Pocket pairs below 8s and 9s can be making the in position C bet. Just because it's a multi-way pot doesn't mean that he's not betting the under pairs. Weak pairs, ooh, all that ugly stuff. He could be doing it one street. As we saw, it's a tiny little bet right here. Could be making a bluff with pocket deuces, you know, or these pocket 3s. Ace highs can be doing this as well. Yep. No made hand. We won't say the no made hands. We'll leave those out. I mean, actually, no, we've got to keep them in, honestly, come to think of it, because they're random overcards, king, queen, king, jack, one overcard, king 9, queen 9, stuff like that. And it could just be a straight weak bluff, so we've got to keep them in. 2 card backdoors. I'm going to keep all the overcards in. Why wouldn't they bet here to blow their 2 checking opponents off? Yep. There's nothing here that I can remove based on the size of that tiny bet. He's c-betting this small with all of his bluffs. He's c-betting this small with all of his nutted hands to try to start building the pot and hope they hit something on the turn. Yeah, so really, I mean, I really don't think I can narrow anything out. I don't think I can remove anything here. These are all possibilities. Yep. 100%, 461 combos. Now you can see just with the board hitting and then these two cards taken out of our opponent's range, he's down to 461 hands, even though he started with 534 before the flop hit. Yep. All right. Oh, so if this is our range right here versus the underpair, we have 57% equity. Things are looking really good for us right now. And then we just get the call. Now the jack of diamonds hits. Opponent checks, and then we check behind as well. Now this is interesting. So jack of diamonds hits. We've got to be betting our quads here. I mean, you've got to at least bet another $2 or $1.50 at a minimum just to try to get some value. We're betting our full houses. We're definitely betting our straights that just now hit the straight. It was a bluff on the flop, and then now that we hit our straight, we've got to be betting for value. You can't check those behind. So you can see how right now just checking behind is removing all the toppest parts of our range. Trips, totally betting again. Overpairs, I don't think overpairs would be scared of a jack. So if they thought they were good on the flop, they've got to think they're good on the turn as well. They've got to be betting again for value. Let's remove those from the range. Two pairs. Well, your opponent did just check call a small bet. They would have check raised with a 7, right, to start building the pot. He had a full stack right here. You've got almost a 4x stack. He's going for max value. So you wouldn't be scared. You've got to be betting your two pair right here. Got to. So he checked behind. Got to remove it. Top pair hands. Now, all of these top pairs are the jack, which was a straight bluff on the flop. You suddenly hit a top pair hand, you have showdown value. You have a hand that can continue going for value if your opponent is calling with some kind of an under pair or even a mid pair. You've got to bet again. I mean, maybe we can remove the weakest top pair hands. These that were straight bluffs, and now they hit some showdown equity without a good kicker. Let's remove those. Those are the only ones I feel comfortable with removing. The undercard kickers, the 9 and the 8. Yeah. Okay. Middle pairs now checking behind. Those are all the 10s. They thought they were good on the flop. Suddenly, a draw completes on the turn, plus an overcard comes. They could be checking. What is his double barrel frequency right here? Well, same percentage, 50-50. So, but in position, 0 on the turn. What's that? 0 out of 1. Yeah, we can't really say that. We don't have enough hands on the guy to know how often he double barrels. So, but the fact that he checked behind just puts him on weak stuff. So let's put his middle pairs. Yeah, let's put those on the check behind. Weak pairs can totally check behind. Aces didn't hit anything on the turn. Now you just have an ace high. Maybe he doesn't like to double barrel. Maybe he's very turn honest. So let's put all these hands in. Open enders, I don't see any reason for them to have to bet here. They could check behind, hoping to hit on the river. So let's put the gut shots in and the overcards as well. So wow, look at that. So his check kept his range really wide. He still has 356 combos in his range, but it took off the toppest parts of his range. So that check just showed a ton of weakness. Small bet on the flop, check behind on the turn, lots of weakness. 356 combos. 81% of the prior street's range. 356. 1 year of combos here. Almost. So, river gives us the 3. Oh, lovely. Well, can't have a 3 of spades. Let's move that to the 3 of clubs. 3 of spades decides to come on the river, giving our range, our more narrowed but less top-heavy range. Oh, well, darn it. Let's just give him a different that doesn't automatically. Let's say he's got an underpair. So the hand right here has 44% equity. Our range is really weak at just 36%. We had plenty of draws, plenty of ace-high hands, overcards and stuff on the turn. That 3 just did not help in any way for us. So given that 3 on the river, let's see what happens here. $3 bet and then a call. So what is he calling? He obviously has a super weak hand at this point. He's not raising. He should be raising with his trips, his full houses, which we've already disqualified him from having. So, whoops. Let's see, 3 of a kind. Wait a second. I thought I removed his 3 of a kinds. Oh. Wait a second. 3 of a kind are not highlighted here. But then when the 3 hits, how does 3 of a kind get back into his range? Nine, 7, and 8, 7. Where are those? Oh, because they're part of a gut shot. They have trips and a gut shot, so I've got to remove them here. All of these 7s. He cannot have any 7s in his range. It makes sense they're gut shots at the same time as their trips. So I missed that on the prior street right here. So hit accept. We took those out of his range. Now it's 346 combos. Yeah, so now that the 3 of spades hits, good. He cannot have 3 of a kind in his range. That's perfect. Okay. So what is he calling? Now it's a 2/3 pop bet. The guy could have been... We don't know anything about this player. If he had the trips, he really should have check raised on that small board, or at a minimum, donk led the turn to not miss out on any value. He really should have. So my guess is our opponent has a 7 right here. But Home Tiger might not see that and might just hope, hey, my under pair, my pair is good. So let's see what is calling this 2/3 pop bet. Top pairs. Yes, all of these can be calling that bet. Excuse me. Can be calling that bet. Just hoping the opponent doesn't have a 7 and is going to win with that top pair. Middle pair now. Yeah, I can say those are calling. Weak pairs? Man, all of those should be folding at this point. Your opponent, who showed passivity pre on the flop on the turn, is now waking up with the 2/3 pot bet. He should be folding all of these undercards. So I'm going to say at this point, these are all being folded. He's only calling with a very, very narrow range, I'm thinking here. 26%, 87 combos. Let's see what it ends up being. 5-7 off. Okay, that makes sense. And pocket 8s. Are 8s in the range still? Oh, he did. He had actually made the call with the weak pair. So I narrowed him down a bit too much. So he called with a 3rd pocket pair. So I was unsuccessful in ranging him in this hand. It makes sense the way he played pre-flop, flop, and turn. The 8s make total sense. I would have liked a bigger bet on the flop just to just even a half pot, just one big blind more to $1.25 instead of just $1. But the way he played that and the way he played the turn made total sense. He picked up a gut shot. He has the full house draw as well. A 7 or an 8 gives him a full house. So he just played to control the pot size right there. What he could have done was made it $1.25 on the flop, and then if he would have, let's see what the pot would have been. So on the river, he paid $3, right? If he would have made this $1.25, he would have put $1.25 at risk. The pot would have been $5. He could have literally bet $2.25 here, $2.25. He would have check called, possibly check raised, but if he would have check raised, he would have just folded and saved himself some money. He called more on the river, that $3, than he would have risked by betting a little bit more on the flop and making a half pot double barrel on the turn. So he would have been better off being a little bit more aggressive on the flop and turn as opposed to playing passively and paying off the $3 bet. He made more money because of his passive play right here. A little bit more aggression earlier on would have saved Home Tiger 2 big blinds. Which, hey, 2 big blinds in this one hand. If you could do that every 100 hands, you've increased your win rate by 2 big blinds every 100 hands. And let's see what his current win rate is. In my database, what do I have him at? Home Tiger. Oh, wait, I want to get rid of the filter here. So in my database, Home Tiger's win rate is currently, was like 11 big blinds per 100 hands? Home Tiger, 11 big blinds per 100 hands. So let's say this hand right here happens, once every 100 hands out of this 900 hand sample. If he had saved himself 2 big blinds every single time it happened, he would be at 12.75, a 12.75 big blind win rate. So really, it's just a mistake on his part. I think he could have been more aggressive, flop and turn, double barreling, and then saving himself that 3 big blind at the end, call with third pocket pair. Not really fond of that play at all. I think he should have just check folded there, or just folded because he was in position on the river. Alrighty, y'all. Thank you very much for joining day 39. Come back next time for day 40. Peace out.